Hi everyone, I'm Hannah. It's really nice to be with you and sharing this book with you. We have somehow, before even day one started, have managed to lose our book. So I am reading off my phone, but if you have your book, it's probably worth grabbing yours. We're now very grateful that somebody reads it to us each day while we still try to work out what we've done with ours. So we're going to start by reading the Bible verses it says at the top. So it says Ruth chapter 1 verses 3 to 10. So that reads, Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. When she heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, Naomi and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go back, each of you, to your mother's homes. May the Lord show kindness to you, as you have shown to your dead and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. Then she kissed them, and they wept aloud and said to her, We will go back with you to your people. So I'll read the chapter from the book now. It says, Driving home for Christmas. The longest journey. Where will you be travelling this Christmas? Whether it's an overdue catch-up with friends or long trips to see far-flung relatives, we're used to meaningful journeys at this time of year. Yesterday, Elimelech, Naomi and their 2 sons made a journey from Bethlehem to Moab. But things didn't turn out the way they hoped. Within just 10 years of arriving in Moab, Naomi had faced 3 family funerals, losing her husband and both of her sons. It's hard to imagine such grief. And for a woman in that culture, it meant she'd lost everything. Status, security, provision. Moab had promised life, but had brought only death. It was time to return home. Turning back. Naomi's decision to return seems initially prompted by news that Bethlehem's famine is over. The Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them. But she may not return alone. Her sons had each married Moabite girls, Orpah and Ruth. The rest of the chapter unpacks an incredibly moving conversation between the 3 of them as Naomi tries to convince her daughters-in-law to remain in their homeland. Strikingly, the Hebrew verb to return or turn occurs 12 times in this dialogue, though not all are shown in the English translation. Where kindness is found. We're being shown that Naomi isn't just going on a physical journey. As we'll see, this book is all about her spiritual journey as she rediscovers who the Lord really is. For example, Naomi seems spiritually confused in chapter 1. She is hopeful that Ruth and Orpah will experience the Lord's kindness in Moab. But this Hebrew word, hesed, spoke of God's special covenant love. Any self-respecting Israelite would know that the place of God's covenant blessing was Israel, not Moab. And does Naomi really expect her daughters-in-law to find rest in the home of another husband, as she says in verse 9? After all, that certainly hadn't been Naomi's experience. Hope in Bethlehem. But Naomi's journey is one with which many of us will identify. We can all find it difficult to rest in God's promises. We all have seasons of struggling to trust God is for us. And so the repeated language of turning gently encourages us to consider which direction we are turned, towards Moab or Bethlehem. As Naomi turns back to Bethlehem, she is actually turning back to the Lord, the God of steadfast kindness. So what journey have you been on this year? And which direction are you now facing? For Christians, every day is full of countless little moments of turning away from God. That's why daily habits help us to turn back home to Christ in repentance and faith, which are so important. But maybe we're in a season where we've been persistently looking for hope in the wrong places. These verses invite us to return from Moab and find hope and life in Jesus Christ, the perfect expression of God's loving kindness. It's time to come home. And then this little application bit at the end, it says, how do you need to turn back from Moab at the moment? Where are you searching vainly for false hope? Pray that as you prepare for Christmas, your heart would be daily turned towards Christ as your source of hope and rest. It's nice to be with you all. Bye.